I found out about my husband's 4-year-long affair after the girl he was cheating with gave birth to twins, but now they've both passed away in a car crash, and everyone wants me to keep the kids who weren't even mine to begin with. My 45F husband, 49M, of 23 years has been having an affair with a 20-year-old old girl since 2020. I found out this year when his affair partner gave birth to twin boys in March. Obviously we were going to divorce. We've been hashing things out since. It's been a lengthy process due to some properties in common, and we needed to get an accountant since he used the shared account for his affair. Finally things seemed to be getting close to the end when both my husband and the woman he cheated with passed away in a car crash. By some miracle the twin babies were not harmed in the crash. Now they are orphaned and neither set of grandparents can take them in permanently. My husband's parents are both in assisted living, he has no siblings and the only aunt that could take them refuses. She's been child-free her whole life. On the woman's side, I'm not sure the details in full, but her parents are also not able to be involved long-term and the one sister she has lives overseas. Since we were still married and he had not updated his will, all his assets are set to pass to me and our 2 children. I'm not callous enough to leave those babies with nothing, so I agree to let whoever is their legal guardian to have the remaining balance in the shared account. About $25,000 in savings. The issue is no one wants to take them in. Now my in-laws are pressuring me to take them in and raise them. The issue is, I don't want to. At all. I wouldn't love them and I don't want to be the evil stepmother. But I know a big part of me will always have a level of resentment towards them. I will probably favor my own children. It's not their fault, but I truly loved my husband and I thought we were happy before I found out about the affair. We have 2 daughters, 14 and 16. Obviously we had disagreements, but never insulted each other's before. Then I found out about the affair and he began calling me names and blaming me for his cheating. He became abusive and even tried to kick me of the house, my childhood home that is not shared property for the record. I'm also raising teenagers alone now. I don't have the energy to raise babies anymore. My daughters hate their baby brothers. I tried to get them to spend time with their dad as we were divorcing, but they refused. Since this all was found out because of the babies, there wasn't really a way to sugarcoat the situation. And they are also too old to really get away with it. Most of my friends agree it's not my place to care for those children, but my in-laws, the affair woman's parents and my mother want me to raise them. I know my mom is just having grandkids fever, but it hurts to not have her support. I have to make a decision by next week or the boys will be going into foster care. At the moment they are temporarily placed with their maternal grandparents. I feel horrible, but I am very sure I can't take them in. Whipda if I refuse to take them in? Update 1. Hey everyone, this blew up far more than I thought, and I appreciate the well wishes for my girls, the boys and myself. Also for the amount of lovely people offering to see about giving the twins a good home. I might not be their mother, but it does touch me and makes me glad there's good people out there. After thinking carefully and speaking to my lawyer, reading responses, doing research, etc., I plan to speak to the grandparents tomorrow and refuse to take legal guardianship of the boys. I will let them know of the usernames of people that offered meeting for private adoptions or fostering, but my daughters are my priority. It'll be up to the twins' grandparents to decide if they'll proceed with adoption, keep them, or turn them to the state. I wish I had the mental capacity to be the person to do this, but I have 2 girls that are going through a lot and they need my full attention. I'll also be talking to the lawyers to figure out if the boys have any inheritance claim properly. If they do, I'll separate it and leave it to the lawyers to do what they need to do for them to have access when it's best. If they don't, I'll find a way to ensure they have access to the $25,000 I was going to give them since the beginning. I won't do more, however. My moral compass might be biased, but I don't believe I'm obligated neither morally nor legally to do more than what the word of law says. I can't help everyone and I shouldn't have to. I have 2 girls that lost their father, 2 girls that need therapy, 2 girls just about to get to college. They've gone through enough without seeing their mother favor the children of their father's mistress. Update 2. Hey everyone. So as I said 2 nights ago, I went yesterday to speak to the twins' grandparents. I explained my position and refused to take guardianship of the boys. My mother-in-law almost slapped me when I said that, but thankfully this was all done in a public place and my father-in-law stopped her. The maternal grandparents kept pleading for me to raise them since they didn't want to lose them. I kept saying no, and when they called me selfish, I lost it. I told them to their face the only selfish people in this mess were them and their son and daughter. Their son, my husband, for cheating and then making the divorce hell on me and my girls. Their daughter because she was a WHRE, I used another word, that went after a married man twice her age. I told them if I heard from them again, I would request a cease and desist. I also informed my parents-in-law that they won't have access to my daughters for the foreseeable future. I'll explain why in a bit. We were at a restaurant, but I didn't stay for the meal. I also sent an email to my lawyer so he can ensure CPS and any agency involved in the welfare of the twins is aware I'm not going to be their guardian or be involved. Then I sent an email to my in-laws with all the usernames and websites from people here in Reddit that have offered to do interviews for the twins' adoption. I won't be involved beyond this point, so please, as lovely as it is, I can't help you if you are interested in the boys. Yesterday was the end of my involvement. As for why my in-laws won't see my girls, I spoke to my daughters and decided to find out more about their thoughts before I went to meet the grandparents. My youngest refused to speak to me, which I found very out of place for her. My eldest then asked for just the two of us to speak. That's when she explained that my in-laws had been going on about how the girls need to get ready to go to public school instead of their private school and to get jobs right out of high school since I will have to provide the twins with private schooling and college money. Apparently they also were told to start moving their stuff to share a room. My girls have separate rooms, since the twins need more space. This was not known to me. Mostly cause that would never happen. Apparently my in-laws have been basically bullying the girls because the babies take priority. Yeah, that's not happening. I told the girls that their grandparents have no say in where they go to school, their college funds, or how the rooms are set in our house. Also that I do agree they could use a part-time job during college and maybe a scholarship, but their tuition will be paid. I told them not to blame the babies for the stupidity of the adults. They told me they understand, but they still don't want to interact with their brothers for now. That for now part gives me hope they'll get through things. For now we're going to do some changes in the house. The girls and I both don't like there's still an office space that my husband used. We're going to make it into a gaming room for all of us. I plan to take down some pictures that have my husband in them and put them in albums for the girls. We just want to make the house more ours. As for people wondering why my girls wanted nothing to do with their father, my daughters were the ones that discovered the affair and told me when my husband took them to meet the twins at the hospital. He had asked them to keep it secret, but my girls told me. After that, my husband began treating them horribly too. He burned all bridges with the girls. Update 3. I spoke to a lawyer on Monday. The boys have no inheritance claim until a DNA test is done. After that, their only claim is against my in-laws. The shared account is not considered my husband's individual property, so it's mine. Same with the lake house. Since he had a personal savings account and a life insurance, which went to his parents, that will be the only thing the boys could claim. Obviously this can be changed if it goes to trial, but the lawyer told me with how little my husband left my girls and I, there's very little chance a judge will demand our assets. The lawyer also recommended me to completely end the idea of sharing any money with the boys. That could be used against me to claim I'm taking fiscal responsibility for them and should be considered to be their guardian. I'm dividing the money from the shared account for my daughter's college tuitions. I'm still unsure if I'll sell the lake house or not, but neither the girls nor I are attached to it. Now, please leave me alone about the boys' inheritance. Sad as it is, my husband messed everything up for his children. I'm not responsible for them, nor do I have to sacrifice my assets to set them up for a better life. Update 4. There's some good news and some annoying news. The good news is the boys were safely retrieved by CPS from their maternal grandparents, and will be placed in foster care until a permanent arrangement is made. I found out when it happened since their grandparents, and my mother, came to scream at me at work. In all honesty, I'm glad this happened at work and not at home. It's made me consider moving, since I don't want my daughters exposed to any of this. An annoyance I had very soon after was getting a call about my inquiries into fostering and adopting. Apparently my information was sent to CPS as someone interested in fostering the twins and eventually adopting. I immediately explained the situation between the grandparents and me, and the operator was speechless at first. She apologized for the situation and told me she would make sure I wasn't bothered about the process. I also got served this morning. My in-laws are suing for grandparents' rights. They are also suing for custody. Apparently they are planning to leave their assisted living, which they really shouldn't, to buy a house that allows kids to get the twins back and now also want custody of my daughters. My personal lawyer immediately gave me some instructions I won't share to safeguard myself and my daughters from some risks during a possible custody battle. My lawyer and I both suspect my in-laws want the girls to parentify them as caretakers for the twins since my in-laws have mobility limitations. It will be a cold day in hell before that happens. I don't see CPS placing the boys with them to begin with. Not all is bad news. I'm starting therapy next week and my eldest daughter is once again speaking about the colleges she wants to go to. We still haven't really talked about their father or have them agree to visit his grave. I myself haven't gone there and I'm trying really hard to get used to not calling him my husband anymore. I had nothing to do with the funeral plans aside paying bills, and from what I heard his parents had the epitaph, devoted and beloved husband, father, and son written on it. I find it a joke. I know it's bad to hold to so much anger and resent, but as soon as I have time, I plan to change his tombstone to remove husband and father. It might sound petty, but I refuse to speak well of a cheater and abuser just because he's dead. My doctors deserved better, and so did I. And for anyone complaining about me changing the tombstone, I pay for everything at the end. So, stick your complaints you know where. To the person that said that I will regret not adopting the twins, I don't regret it one bit. Please either post a public message or leave me alone. I don't deal with cowards that use PMs to avoid being judged. Update 5. I can't believe I ever had to make a post about my mother, but here we are. My mother, 71F, and I have a difficult relationship. My mother was an old-school traditional wife. She was a homemaker, never did any work outside the house, had far more kids than what I think is healthy, 7 girls and 6 boys. She is originally from Guatemala and came to the US when she was 14. She married my father here, had her family here, and tried to make sure myself and my siblings had old-school values. Something she really failed at it. Most of my siblings are as far from my mother as humanly possible. 2 of them sadly passed away. I'm the only one that stayed near to take care of my parents, and since Dad died, I've taken my mother's bills so she can live easy. She's always been a dramatic headache, especially when it came to my marriage. She babied my husband. Always took his side. I only wanted 1 kid, but my husband wanted as many as biologically possible. He had told me he also only wanted 1 when we talked about marriage. My mother helped him mess with my birth control, so I got pregnant with my youngest. I don't regret my youngest daughter, but after she was born, I secretly had my tubes tied. My mother always berated me for being faulty since I only had 2 children. That's not counting how she berated me for marrying old. I married at 22, she married at 16. When my husband's affair came out, my mother blamed me. She said it was because I was a working woman that didn't please her husband. That I didn't give him enough children. That I was pretty anymore. I'm not going to say I'm super attractive, but I think I look good for my age. I've kept my weight well enough and I look relatively young for my actual age. But no, according to my dear mother, I wasn't good enough for my husband, who needed a girl closer in age to our daughters than to him. She also was on the group of people angry at me when I refused to adopt my husband's affair children. Her newest crazy is she's trying to find husbands for my daughters. Mainly focused on my eldest. This crazy plan started this week when my eldest came out to us. I had an idea, and I'm happy she felt comfortable enough in this massive mess we're in to still tell me and her sister. My daughter also decided to tell my mother about it. My mother just ended the call, then called me to scream about how confused and sick my daughter is. She's linked me conversion camps, psychologists that claim homosexuality is a sickness, wackos in my opinion, political articles, etc. She even wanted to see about doing an exorcism. I told her to stop it or she would be in no contact with my in-laws. She stopped for literally 24 hours. Next thing I get is a Facebook message from a man in his mid-20s asking if it was true that I was looking to marry out my 16-year-old daughter. I told him he was sick and blocked him. I got 6 more through the night. Then my mother called saying she found husband prospects for my girls. My high school-aged girls? Angry has been an understatement. She even gave some of these men my daughter's cell phone numbers. We're all getting new phone numbers tomorrow, and I had the girls put their social medias into private. I don't know what part of the brain is broken in my mother's brain. I had the girls block their grandmother and everything, and I'm stopping payments to anything that my mother needs. I know I need to call the cops. I just never thought I would need to call the cops on my own mother. It's been only 2 weeks since I had to cut my in-laws. I'm just exhausted. And please, do not think this is a normal Hispanic thing. It's not. My aunts are amazing women, most of them also homemakers. They are actually on my side of cutting off my mother and calling the cops. They even suggested for my daughters and I to move closer to them in another state. This is just my mother being insane. Update 6. We went to the police today and they took all the information I had. The officer we spoke was incredible and immediately helped my lawyer with all that was needed for a temporary row. We'll be filing it this week and hopefully get it within the month. After, we'll focus on a permanent row. This is on my mother and any third parties on her behalf. The officer was also kind enough to offer to check on us and our house at least once a day. School has also been notified of the situation, and one of my brothers is going to come live with my daughters and I until we decide if / when we move. I can't just up and pack everything since I still have a job and my girls are in the middle of the school year. For now we're safe and my girls have new phone numbers. Update 7. So some good news came out today regarding my mother. As of November 2024, she will be on her own monetarily. There's also an investigation on her regarding what she tried to do to my daughters, and a very old investigation reopened about a family matter I can't really speak on for the time being. Because of the charges on my mother, we might get an expedite on that restraining order since there's minors involved, so fingers crossed. The row will also keep some others from contacting me, mainly in-laws. On other news, after talking to my daughters, the three of us agree we don't really like our house anymore. It makes me a bit sad because it was my childhood home and a gift from my dad, but the reality is there's too much baggage. I look at some places and it feels like the ghost of my husband's infidelity is everywhere. My girls don't like that we're so close to their grandparents, and my brother, who's moved in with us, has been very blunt about the fact that the house is just not worth the stress. So, as painful as it is, I'm planning to do some repairs and either sell or rent it out. It's a big house, 9 bedrooms, so far more space than we ever need. I'll be happy with half that so my girls can have their own room and I can have an office. My brother will also stay living with us after we move. Not sure if it's a forever situation, but he's a good support for my eldest daughter when it comes to LGBTQ+ matters. I have to admit I know the bare facts. While my brother is gay and came out almost 30 years ago, he's been a fount of advice about resources and given her advice, especially after my mother's stunt. My youngest has also started to do better. She's back to talking as usual and seems less scared about going out. She's been very excited about looking for a new house with me. She wants the perfect yard. So, we'll see what we can find. My job offered a transfer out of state, also an international transfer, but that one is more likely a no for me. So a new beginning will do us good. That's all what I got. Not much actual updates as much as settling my mind on some decisions after reading advice here and talking it through with people in my life. As of November, I'm officially refusing to acknowledge my mother. As far as I know, my parents were gone after my father died. Update 8. Hey everyone, some people have been asking me for updates, and to be sincere, I had nothing until today. To start things, cousins from my ex-husband's side of the family took the boys in. I know them, they are lovely, and I know they'll give the twins a great life. The new parents, calling them Matt and Kim, talk to my daughters and let them know if they ever want to reach out to their half-brothers, they just have to call. Otherwise, they can just see them as distant cousins. My girls thanked them, but insisted they don't really want a sibling relationship at this time, but that maybe as cousins it will be okay. I did offer them the money from the shared account since they are family, and they said not to worry since they don't need it. Kim even insisted I used that money for a vacation for my girls, and I look like the living dead. They also set very strict lines with my in-laws and the parents of my ex's affair partner. They can see the boys, but they won't be seen as grandparents. This apparently caused a big fight with the AP's parents. Matt and Kim then cut them off. Again, threats of suing for grandparents' rights were thrown around, but it went nowhere. That's how I found out why the AP's parents couldn't take the boys permanently. The father is a convicted felon in an abuse case. I won't share the details out of respect, but if what Matt and Kim told me is true, I'm glad the boys won't grow up with that man as an example. The only reason his wife had temp guardianship was because of the sudden death of the parents and the process to find a relative to raise the boys. She would have had to live away from her husband to allow permanent custody, and she wasn't willing to do so. My ex-in-laws did figure threats were not going to work, so they agreed to be great uncles instead. Good for them, I guess. They now want me to let them live with me and the girls since they left assisted living recently and now the place they were in doesn't have opening. This place has a long wait list, and the only reason they got in originally was because my ex and I offered to pay 5 years in full. They still had 2 full years paid left and I was going to pay for them. After everything they put my daughters and me through, I'd rather burn money in a grill than spend it on them. I know they want my girls and I to be their caretakers. I won't even consider it. My daughters have their paths to follow, and in all honesty, I want to consider meeting someone new. I know it sounds like I'm moving on too quick, but I've been working to move on since I found out about the affair. I don't think my ex deserves me to go through a mourning period. I already mourned our relationship. At least that's what my eldest daughter said, funny enough. She's been encouraging me to go out and meet someone. We still have that custody lawsuit from my ex-in-laws going and a few other issues that I will update when I have more, but I wanted to at least let everyone know the boys are safe and together.